Your tomatoes are getting eaten. Your basil has holes in every leaf. Mosquitoes ambush you the second you step outside. And every summer you tell yourself the same thing. Next year, I'll stay on top of it. Next year, I'll spray more. Next year, I'll spray more. Next year, I'll be a better gardener. But what if the problem was never your effort? What if the real reason your garden keeps losing the war against pests is that nobody ever told you about the 7 herbs that fight that war for you, quietly, beautifully, and for years on end? These aren't kitchen plants stuck in a pot by the back door. These are 7 ground-covering, air-perfuming, pest-confusing powerhouses that turn your yard into a place bugs literally avoid. Plant them once, barely touch them again, and by the time we get to number 7, you'll understand why the best pest control on the planet was never going to come in a bottle. Stick around for number 5. It's the one I was scared of for years, and now I plant it everywhere. And number 7 is the Showstopper. If low-maintenance gardening is what you've been searching for, hit subscribe before we start. Now let's get to herb number 1. Number 1 is sweet basil. And before you tell me you already know basil, hear me out. Because the basil you've been buying in a plastic clamshell at the grocery store and the basil planted as a permanent fixture in your garden are 2 completely different experiences. In the ground, sweet basil grows into a lush, soft green bush about 18 to 24 inches tall, with thick, rounded, slightly cupped leaves that catch the afternoon light like little green plates. It looks beautiful next to tomatoes, peppers, marigolds, and just about anything else you've got going on. But here's the real reason it's number 1. Basil is one of the most effective natural pest repellents you can plant. Mosquitoes hate the volatile oils it releases into the air. Houseflies drift away from it. Tomato hornworms, those fat green caterpillars that can strip a tomato plant to bare stems overnight, are repelled by it, which is exactly why old gardeners have been planting basil next to tomatoes for generations. You don't have to spray anything. The plant is the spray. The cultivar's worth knowing. Genovese is the classic Italian sweet basil, big leaves, strong scent, easy from seed, the one most chefs swear by. Dark opal is a deep purple burgundy variety that looks stunning planted next to silver foliage and adds real drama to a bed. And Cardinal has these wild red flower spikes that pollinators absolutely flood, which only strengthens the pest defense around it. One warning, basil hates cold feet. Do not put it in the ground until your nighttime temperatures are reliably above 50 degrees, or it'll sulk for a month before it grows an inch. It thrives across USDA zones 4 through 10 as a warm season annual, and in zones 9 and 10 it can sometimes overwinter as a short-lived perennial. In the south, you'll get a long, generous season. In the north, you'll get one glorious summer. Both are more than enough. Number 2 is lavender. And I know you've heard 100 people talk about lavender, but most of what you've been told about it is wrong, especially the part where someone convinced you it's fussy and hard to grow. The right lavender, in the right spot, with the right cultivar, is one of the toughest plants you can put in the ground. At peak, lavender forms a soft silver-blue mound about 18 to 30 inches tall and just as wide, topped with wand-like flower spikes in deep purple, pale lilac, or occasionally white. Bees love it, butterflies cover it, but aphids, moths, fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes all stay away. The same essential oils that perfume your hands when you brush past it scramble the scent trails that pests use to find your other plants. Plant lavender along a walkway, by a doorway, around your patio, or as an edge along your vegetable bed, and you've effectively built a fragrant fence against half the bugs that ruin a summer evening. The cultivars that matter, Munstead and Hitticoat, are the 2 English lavenders that reliably survive cold winters, hardy down to USDA Zone 5 with proper drainage. Phenomenal is the one I now recommend to almost everyone because it shrubs off humidity that destroys most other lavenders. It handles zones 5 through 9 and actually survives in the muggy southeast, where most lavenders melt by August. One tip that will save your lavender: it doesn't want rich soil. It doesn't want compost piled around it. It doesn't want heavy mulch against its crown. Plant it lean, plant it gritty, give it sharp drainage, water it wants to establish, and then walk away. The number 1 cause of dead lavender is love, specifically too much water. Stop loving it so hard, and it'll outlive most things in your yard. Number 3 is rosemary, and not the sad little 4-inch rosemary you bought at the grocery store in December and watched die by February. I'm talking about rosemary planted in the ground in the right zone, where it grows into a small evergreen shrub 2 to 4 feet tall and just as wide, with needle-like silver green leaves and pale blue flowers that bloom in waves from late winter through spring. It looks like a shrub a landscaper would charge you $100 to install. And it's also one of the most powerful pest deterrents in your garden. Cabbage moths, carrot flies, bean beetles, and Mexican bean beetles are all repelled by its volatile oils, and deer typically walk straight past it like it isn't even there. Here's the bonus most people miss about rosemary. It's evergreen in warm zones. While the rest of your garden is brown and bare in February, rosemary is still standing there, silver green and fragrant, holding the structure of your yard together. Brush your hand across it on a cold morning, and the scent stays on your fingers for an hour. The cultivars to know. Tuscan blue is the upright architectural one you've seen on Italian hillsides, gorgeous as a low hedge or a focal point shrub. ARP is the cold hardy hero, surviving down into USDA Zone 6 if planted in a protected spot with good drainage. Barbecue is exactly what it sounds like. Long, straight stems that double as natural skewers when you fire up the grill. In zones 7 through 10, rosemary is a permanent fixture in the landscape. In zones 5 and 6, plant ARP against a south-facing wall and protect it from winter wind, and even then count it as semi-permanent. One warning that matters more than any cold issue. Wet feet kill rosemary faster than winter ever will. If your soil holds water through the cold months, plant it on a slight mound, in a raised bed, or in a gritty patch by a south-facing wall. Drainage is the entire game. Get drainage right, and rosemary will outlive your patience for it. If you're still with me, we're halfway through. We've covered basil, lavender, and rosemary. 3 workhorses that protect your garden from above. The next 3 plants work differently. They cover the ground, fill the empty spaces, and stop pests at soil level, which is exactly where most of the damage starts. And then number 7 is where everything comes together. Let's keep going. Number 4 is creeping thyme. At peak, creeping thyme forms a dense, fragrant carpet, only 2 to 4 inches tall, smothered in tiny pink, purple, or white flowers from late spring into midsummer. It spills between stepping stones. It tumbles over rock walls. It fills the dead space under taller plants. And every time it gets brushed by a foot, a paw, or a breeze, it releases thyme oil into the air, which deters cabbage worms, whiteflies, and the small soil-level insects that snack on your seedlings before you've even had a chance to see them sprout. Here's why creeping thyme matters so much in a pest-resistant garden. Bare soil is an invitation. Exposed dirt is where slugs travel, where soil-level beetles lay eggs, where weeds move in, where moisture evaporates. The moment you replace that bare soil with a living, fragrant, pest-repelling carpet of thyme, the entire ground-level dynamic of your garden changes. It's pest control and a weed barrier and a water saver, all in one tough little plant. The cultivar's worth planting. Elfin is the tightest, most compact form, perfect for the joints between pavers where you want a flat, walkable mat. Pink chintz gives you those soft, salmon pink blooms that look unreal in person, especially with morning light on them. And Dune Valley has variegated gold and green foliage that lights up partially shaded corners. All 3 are hardy across USDA zones 4 through 9, and they laugh at drought once established. In the arid west, this plant is nearly a miracle. In the humid east, give it good drainage and full sun and it'll still thrive. One tip, never fertilize creeping thyme. Rich soil makes it leggy, floppy, and short-lived. Lean, gritty, slightly poor soil makes it dense, fragrant, and effectively bulletproof. Treat it well by treating it a little rough. Number 5 is mint, and yes, I know what you're thinking. Mint is the plant your aunt warned you about. The plant that took over an entire flower bed and laughed at you while it did it. The plant most low-maintenance gardeners refuse to touch. I almost left it off this list for exactly that reason. But I kept it on because mint is one of the most effective pest deterrents in the entire plant kingdom, and the only thing standing between you and that benefit is one simple decision about where you plant it. At peak, garden mint forms a lush knee-high stand of crinkled or smooth green leaves with subtle purple flower spikes that pollinators absolutely cover. Walk past it on a warm afternoon, and the air smells like every good summer memory you've ever had. But the real magic is what mint does to pests. Ants will not cross a line of mint, aphids avoid it, fleas hate it, cabbage moths drift away from it, and mice and small rodents will literally redirect their travel routes around a healthy mint bed. There is no spray on the market that does all of that at once. The cultivars worth knowing. Kentucky Colonel Spearmint is the classic julep mint with large leaves and a mellow, sweet flavor. Mosquito mint has a brighter, almost citrus-edged scent and is gorgeous planted in the ground. Chocolate mint is real, and yes, it actually smells like an Andes mint when you brush against it. All three are hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9, which covers nearly all of North America. Reliable, tough, forever. And here is the tip that makes mint work for you instead of against you. Never plant it loose in a bed. Plant it in a buried bottomless pot, a sunken metal stock tank, a dedicated strip between concrete and a foundation, or a contained bed where the runners hit a hard edge they can't cross. Give it walls, and mint becomes the most loyal, most beautiful, most pest-protective plant in your entire garden. Without walls, yes, it's a tyrant. With walls, it's a hero. The walls is a hero. The walls are one decision, made one time. Number 6 is sweet woodruff, and this is the one almost nobody talks about, which is a shame, because if you have a shady corner you've completely given up on, that dim strip under the maple tree, that north side of the house where nothing ever looks good, that forgotten patch behind the garage, sweet woodruff is the plant that finally fills it. At peak, sweet woodruff forms a soft, low carpet about 6 to 12 inches tall, with whorls of slender, bright green leaves, arranged like tiny green stars around each stem. In late spring, it explodes into a frothy mist of small white four-petaled flowers that look like someone dusted the shade with snow. It smells faintly of fresh hay and vanilla when you brush past it. And here's the pest control angle that most gardeners have never heard. Sweet woodruff is rich in coumarin, a natural compound that moths, mosquitoes, and many soil-level insects avoid. People used to stuff dried sweet woodruff into mattresses and linen drawers to keep bugs out of bedding. Plant it across your shady ground, and your yard becomes that mattress on a much bigger scale. The cultivars, the straight species, sometimes labeled botanically as Gallium odoratum, is the one most growers carry, and frankly, it's all you need. Some specialty nurseries offer a slightly tighter form labeled compactum, which stays a little lower and a little denser. Sweet woodruff is hardy across USDA zones 4 through 8, and it performs best in the cooler, moister parts of the country. The Pacific Northwest, the Upper Midwest, New England, the Mid-Atlantic, and the cooler, shadier parts of the South. One tip: sweet woodruff wants moist, humusy shade. Give it leaf litter, give it dappled light under a tree, give it a corner you've stopped trying to fix, and it will quietly take over in the most beautiful way possible. In dry, sunny spots, it will struggle. Match it to its place, and it will reward you for years. And now we're at number 7, the showstopper, the one I tell every gardener about when they ask me where to start. Oregano. I know oregano sounds ordinary. That's exactly why most people overlook it. But garden oregano, the real thing, planted in the ground, allowed to spread the way it wants to, is one of the single most useful, beautiful, pest-protective plants you can put in any sunny spot. At peak, oregano forms low, undulating mats of small, rounded leaves and clouds of tiny pink, purple, or white flowers from June through September. Depending on the variety, it stands 8 to 24 inches tall, and a single mature plant can cover 3 to 4 feet of ground without any help from you whatsoever. Here's why it earned the number 7 spot. Oregano's foliage and flowers repel cabbage moths, cucumber beetles, and aphids. Deer will not touch it. Rabbits will not touch it. And while it's pushing those pests away, it does the opposite for the good bugs. Bees, butterflies, hoverflies, and predatory wasps absolutely flood it the moment it blooms, and predatory wasps are some of the most effective pest controllers in any garden. So oregano isn't just repelling the bad insects. It's actively recruiting the ones that eat the bad insects for you. You don't have to do anything, the plant does both jobs. The cultivars to know: Greek oregano, sometimes labeled hot and spicy, is the workhorse, with the deepest flavor and the strongest pest deterrent oils. Kent Beauties is the ornamental cousin, with pale pink papery bracts that look like miniature hops cascading over rocks and edges, and it stops people in their tracks when they see it for the first time. Hopley's Purple gives you taller stems with vivid purple flower clusters that double as cut flowers for the kitchen counter. All three are hardy across USDA zones 4 through 10, more cold tolerant than most people assume, and drought tough once established almost anywhere in North America. And here's the tip that makes oregano my favorite plant on this entire list: plant it in the worst spot you have, the thin soil, the full sun strip by the driveway that bakes in July, the the slope where nothing else will grow, the crack between the stones. Oregano doesn't just tolerate neglect, it rewards it. The harder the spot, the more fragrant the oils, the denser the flowering, the stronger the pest protection. While the rest of your garden is asking you for water and attention, oregano is doing its best work in the corner you forgot about. So let's pull it all together. 7 herbs. Sweet basil, standing guard around your tomatoes and pushing mosquitoes away from your patio. Lavender, forming a fragrant fence that scrambles every pest scent trail in range. Rosemary, the evergreen shrub that costs you nothing and looks like it cost a fortune. Creeping thyme, the living carpet that closes the door on bare soil and ground-level pests. Mint, contained inside its walls, repelling everything from ants to rodents. Sweet woodruff, finally turning your shady corner into the prettiest part of the yard. And oregano, doing more work in the worst soil on your property than any plant has a right to do. Picture it for a second. A late afternoon in July. You walk out the back door with nothing in your hands, no spray bottle, no gloves, no to-do list. The lavender is humming with bees. The basil is standing wash around the tomatoes. The thyme is releasing its scent under your shoes. The mint is exactly where you put it, lush and fragrant and contained. The sweet woodruff is glowing in the shade. The oregano is buzzing with pollinators in the strip by the driveway. The pests that used to ruin your evenings are somewhere else now, because your garden has quietly become a place they don't want to be. The plants are doing the work. You are noticing. That's the whole point. If this video helped you see your garden as something that can protect itself, instead of something you have to defend every weekend, do me 3 quick favors. Hit the like button so this video finds the next tired gardener who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel, because every single week we go deeper into low-maintenance, high-reward plants that work harder than you do. And drop a comment with this. Which of these 7 herbs are you planting first? Is it the basil by the tomatoes? The lavender along the walkway? The oregano in the worst corner of your yard? Tell me. I read every single comment, and your answer helps me plan the next video for the part of your garden you've been ignoring the longest. I'll see you in the next one.